Your blanket smells like sun-warmed wool and lavender-scented parchment, and the first thing you hear is the low creak of wood as the four-poster bed beside yours stretches its legs. Literally, it's only when the curtain rings above your head draw themselves open that you remember where you are. You sit up too quickly and knock your head against the fabric canopy, which hums disapprovingly and tugs itself a bit higher. You're at Hogwarts, not dreaming, not imagining, fully here, fully awake, or mostly awake. Anyway, the dormitory is round, just like the tower it's nestled in. Tall windows line the curved wall, their panes lightly fogged from the morning chill. Pale golden light trickles in, splashing over your trunk, your slippers, and the enchanted patchwork quilt now folding itself neatly at the end of your bed. Your wand is exactly where you left it, on the little side table that's currently trying to butter a roll with a floating knife and too much enthusiasm. You pluck your wand from beside it and murmur a soft, "That's enough," and the knife settles obediently on the plate, still twitching. One of your dorm mates yawns behind you, muttering something about dream pixies and a rain cloud with legs. Another is already half-dressed, combing their hair in front of a mirror that keeps offering constructive suggestions. You swing your legs over the side of the bed. Your feet touch the stone floor, and your slippers, smelling faintly of cedar, scurry over to meet you. Your robes flutter down from their hook with a slight flourish, eager to be helpful. As you put them on, they give a polite shimmy, tightening around your shoulders just enough to feel snug, but not stiff. You catch your reflection in the tall wardrobe mirror. You look like a student, a real one, with robes, wand, nerves, and a little bed hair that will absolutely not flatten itself no matter how many times you swipe it. The castle is quiet this early, the kind of hush that lives in old buildings full of memory. You hear faint footsteps above you. Maybe the older years are already heading to breakfast, and the soft coo of owls from somewhere overhead. You grab your satchel, which immediately sneezes out a spare quill, and your timetable parchment, which unfurls itself and spins once in the air before gently rolling back into your hand. A little ink note appears in the corner. Don't be late. The stairs are moody before tea. You chuckle under your breath and head for the tower stairs. The common room is warm and inviting, with armchairs still napping in their corners and the fireplace crackling in quiet conversation with itself. A portrait of an elderly witch sips her tea as you pass. She doesn't say anything, just gives you a knowing smile, like she's seen this scene unfold 1,000 times. You walk through the round exit, and the corridor greets you like an old cat, silent, slow, but faintly glowing with magic. As you descend, you pass several older students chattering about Quidditch or trying to quiz each other on potion ingredients. One first year runs past you, still trying to tie their shoelace mid-stride. Another clutches their wand with both hands like it might disappear if they blink. The staircases do not behave. The first one groans and shifts just as you step on it, redirecting you somewhere entirely different from where you thought you were headed. You hop off just in time, only to land in a corridor that wasn't there a second ago, and now insists it's always been here. Thank you very much. Eventually, with a little help from a polite suit of armor and a hovering broom with a note pinned to it, reading, "Back in 5. Don't wait." You find your way to the grand staircase. It's less a staircase and more a living organism made of steps, landings, and occasional sarcasm. You watch as one staircase slowly swings across to meet another, the motion smooth and sweeping. A student jumps onto the far side with a practiced leap. You, however, take a more cautious approach. Step by step, you cross to the middle platform, gripping the railing. Not because you're scared, just cautious. Behind you, your seatmate from the train calls out, "Careful, this one swung me into a tapestry yesterday. I'm still covered in lint." You laugh and wait for them to catch up. The two of you make your way downward, adjusting bags and trading theories about breakfast. "I heard they have sausages that refill themselves," they say. "I just want tea that doesn't talk back." You reply. The final landing deposits you at the base of the grand staircase. You round a wide corner and pass through an arch of worn stone. And just like that, the Great Hall. It's even more beautiful in daylight. The enchanted ceiling shows a pale, morning sky streaked with soft clouds. Sunlight filters down through the illusion, catching on the floating candles and casting golden reflections across the polished tables. There's a low murmur of conversation, students already seated, passing butter dishes and juice jugs and quietly discussing their timetables. You find your house table and slip into a seat near the end. Your seatmate takes the spot beside you. The plate before you gleams invitingly, and a moment later, a dish of porridge appears with a faint pop of steam. A little pitcher of honey shuffles over and bumps your elbow. Your fork waves cheerfully. You eat slowly, letting the flavors and the warmth settle you into your seat. Everything tastes better here. Even the tea hums with something peaceful. An owl swoops overhead and drops a scroll onto the table. You reach for it just as it unfurls. Your official timetable. Ink blooms across the page in neat, curling script. Charms, herbology, history of magic, and a few other subjects you've only ever read about before. Your stomach flips. It's real now. You're here. A first year, a Hogwarts student. Your seatmate nudges you gently. First class is charms. Want to get lost together? You grin and tuck the timetable into your satchel. The castle may be full of trick staircases, talking doorways, and portraits with too many opinions. But this feels like the start of something good. You stand, adjusting your robes, and head off to your first real day of lessons, with magic humming in the air, toast still on your breath, and 1,000 moments waiting to meet you around every corner. The corridors leading out of the great hall feel both ancient and alive. Every footstep you take echoes softly along the stone floor, but it isn't lonely. It's almost like the castle is listening, like it knows your name already and is waiting to see where you'll go. You and your seatmate compare schedules again, just to make sure. Charms, 3rd floor, West Wing. Your parchment flashes a polite little reminder in the corner. 5 minutes until your first spell lesson. Don't trust the carpeted stairs. They gossip. You're halfway through a reply when the corridor turns left unexpectedly. You stumble slightly as the whole hallway seems to shuffle sideways. A portrait of a wizard in lemon-yellow robes huffs loudly as his frame glides along with the wall. "Mind the reorientation charm," he mutters. "This wing shifts to catch the better light in the mornings." Your seatmate gives you a look like, "Did that hallway just move?" You nod. "Yeah, it does that." After a few more turns, and one unexpected detour where a gargoyle blocks your path until you compliment his horn polish, you reach a staircase that isn't moving yet. You both hop on cautiously, and it creaks underfoot as it begins a slow spiral upward. "3rd floor," you whisper. "3rd floor." The stairs whisper back. You're not sure if that's comforting or deeply concerning. Eventually, the corridor opens into a quieter hallway. This one has arched windows letting in golden light and ivy creeping along the outer walls. Portraits line both sides, some still yawning, others peeking over their frames at the new students wandering past. You pause at the door with a brass plaque that reads, "Professor Flitwick, Charms." From inside, you hear the muffled sound of something softly exploding. Your seatmate knocks once, then opens the door, and you step into your first Hogwarts classroom. It smells like polished wood, lemon ink, and something faintly sparkly, like the air itself is enchanted. The room is lined with tall windows. Sunlight streams in, and dust motes drift lazily through the light. Desks are arranged in tidy rows, each with a feather, a bit of parchment, and a quill already set out neatly. You find a seat near the middle, your heart doing the kind of soft, fluttery dance it hasn't done since you opened your Hogwarts letter. Professor Flitwick stands atop a small platform stacked with books. He's barely taller than your desk, with half-moon spectacles and a smile that makes the whole room feel brighter. His wand is tucked neatly behind one ear, like a pencil. "Welcome, welcome," he chirps. Today we begin with the most delightful of spells. Levitation, a favorite of mine, and, if you ask the right ghost, a very useful one when dealing with enchanted tablecloths. A few students giggle. You glance at the feather in front of you. It's a soft, perfect white. Too perfect, almost. Like it knows what's about to happen and has accepted its fate. "Now," Professor Flitwick says, pacing energetically, "you'll want to remember the basics. It's all in the wrist, swish and flick. And the incantation must be pronounced clearly. Wingardium Leviosa, not Leviosa. That'll get you nowhere but the back of the classroom with a bruised ego and a dancing notebook." He demonstrates once. The feather rises gracefully, spins once midair, and then drifts gently back to the desk. It's so elegant, you almost don't believe it's real. Then it's your turn. You grip your wand. You swish. You flick. Wingardium Leviosa. Nothing. Your feather doesn't even twitch. You try again. This time, it wobbles slightly. Maybe. Or maybe the breeze from your breath moved it. Next to you, your seatmate lets out a quiet "ha" as their feather rises half an inch off the desk, spins clumsily, then plummets. Professor Flitwick claps. "Excellent attempt. Keep practicing. Magic is like music. It needs rhythm, but also heart." You take a breath. Swish. Flick. Wingardium Leviosa. This time the feather lifts, just a little, only an inch. But it's floating. Your heart skips. You stare at it in disbelief, until your wand hand shakes slightly, and the feather drifts back down with a tiny sigh, like it enjoyed the ride. You glance at your seatmate, who's watching you with wide eyes. "You did it," they whisper. You grin. So did you. By the end of the lesson, most of the feathers have either been levitated, launched, or flung with enthusiastic but unfortunate wand movements. One student's feather caught fire, briefly, and another's is still stuck on the chandelier. No one knows how. Professor Flitwick ends the lesson with a cheerful bow. Well done, all of you. We are on our way to magic, real magic. Just imagine what you'll be doing by the end of term. You gather your things slowly, fingers still tingling from the spell. Your feather lies peacefully on the desk now, as if pleased with your progress. Outside the classroom, the hallway smells like sun-warmed stone and chalk dust. Your parchment glows faintly. Next up, Herbology. You follow the flow of students toward the stairs again, this time descending with less hesitation. The castle seems to notice your growing confidence. A staircase moves just slightly faster for you. A portrait nods approvingly. As you exit into the greenhouse courtyard, your seatmate nudges you. That felt real, like actual magic. You nod. It was, and the day's only just begun. The greenhouse path smells like earth and sunshine, and something faintly minty, like the air has been steeped in herbal tea. You and your classmates cross a flagstone courtyard, warmed by the mid-morning light. Robes fluttering gently behind you as you follow a trail of floating signs, each shaped like a leaf, bobbing mid-air and pointing the way with exaggerated enthusiasm. Your seatmate from the train is beside you again, eyes flicking from the signs to the ivy-covered stone walls. Feels like something might grab my ankle at any moment, they mutter with a smile. You nod, because it does, but not in a bad way. The path curves around the side of the castle and opens into a wide space bordered by greenhouses. There are 5 of them, all arranged in a semicircle, with domed roofs and fogged-up glass that catches the sun like old amber. Inside, you see leafy shadows shifting and the occasional flick of something that might be a vine or a tail. Professor Sprout is waiting just outside the central greenhouse, sleeves rolled up, gloves already dirtied, and an expression like she's genuinely delighted to see a group of children standing in front of a greenhouse full of things that might bite them. Right, in you come, she calls, beckoning with a trowel. Watch your step. Neville, do tell the fanged geranium to behave. It's had a mood this morning. You exchange a glance with your seatmate. Fanged geranium? Sounds like a band, they reply. You step through the greenhouse doors into a world of humidity. rich soil. And green. So much green. The air is thick with scent. Damp earth. Citrusy herbs. Something floral. Something suspiciously vinegary. The glass above filters the sun into golden stripes across the floor. Benches line the room, each equipped with a small trowel, a pair of gloves, and a potted plant that appears to be sleeping. You'll each take a sprouting snapper, Professor Sprout announces. They're not dangerous, just dramatic. They will puff if you move too fast. Don't be alarmed. It's how they show affection. You take your spot at the bench. The plant in front of you looks like a cross between a succulent and a hedgehog. Its tiny leaves tremble as you put on your gloves, and you swear you hear it emit a tiny sneeze. Your seatmate's snapper immediately turns pink. They like you, Professor Sprout says, passing behind. Good sign. Watch for that. Some go blue, and that means they're sulking. You begin gently loosening the soil. The snapper responds by puffing out a little cloud of glittering dust. It smells faintly of basil and something lemony, not unpleasant. You try to keep your breathing steady, your movements calm. Talk to it, Sprout suggests as she passes again. They like being told about your breakfast. You oblige, mumbling to your snapper about porridge and jam and a self-pouring milk jug. Its little leaves curl inward like it's hugging itself. Your seatmate leans closer. Mine's twitching. That's not a bad thing, right? Before you can answer, there's a small commotion at the next table. One student's snapper launches itself sideways, pot and all, and lands in someone else's lap. The victim yelps. Professor Sprout doesn't even flinch. Excellent energy, she says. Let's redirect that into the soil, shall we? Eventually, you manage to repot your snapper into fresh soil. Its leaves uncurl in contentment, and it puffs a final small cloud that settles like shimmer over your gloves. The bell sounds somewhere in the distance, a soft chime that seems to ripple through the air rather than echo. Right. That's enough for today, Professor Sprout says, clapping once. Wands away. Plants don't like being watched too closely after lunch. You and your classmates file out. A little sweatier, a little dirtier, a little more impressed by how animated a small plant can be. As you re-enter the cooler stone corridor, your seatmate grins. I think mine winked at me. You raise an eyebrow. Or maybe it just sneezed. You laugh. Back inside. The castle is brighter now. Sunlight streams through high windows, painting long patterns of gold on the floors. You head toward the central atrium, where several students gather near a wide notice board. Someone's enchanted a paper airplane to flit between the chandeliers. A portrait of a witch in academic robes watches with approval. "Lunch soon," she says, mostly to herself. They'll want to be fed before history of magic puts them all back to sleep. You head to the Great Hall again, where lunch has already begun to appear. Platters rise up from the center of the table, steaming pies, bowls of roasted vegetables, little baskets of buttered rolls that refill themselves each time someone takes one. Your seatmate plops down beside you and immediately grabs a pumpkin pasty. "How are we real students already?" they say through a mouthful of pastry. You shrug. Magic or a paperwork error? A ghost floats past overhead, whistling tunelessly. You take your time, letting the meal settle you. The food is as good as breakfast, maybe better, because your nerves have calmed and your hands no longer feel like they are holding someone else's wand. Eventually, the enchanted parchment in your satchel pulses softly, reminding you that your next class is history of magic. You sigh. Your seatmate groans. "All right," they mutter. "Let's go meet the most famously boring ghost in Britain." You leave the Great Hall together, already dreading, but quietly amused by, the next challenge. The corridor leading to history of magic is quieter than the rest of the castle. Not silent. There's always the occasional murmur from a portrait, or the creak of a suit of armor stretching out a kink in its elbow. But here, the hush feels older, like the stones themselves are listening in. You and your seatmate walk side by side, trailing behind a few other first years. One of them is reading from a book as they walk. Another is trying to keep their owl's cage level, even though the owl is snoring. You reach the classroom door, carved in pale wood, with a small brass plate that reads, "Professor Binns." The door creaks open on its own. Inside, the room is lined with arched windows that let in long, slanting beams of light. Rows of desks stretch out like parade formations, their surfaces polished smooth by years of elbows and spilled ink. A faint layer of chalk dust floats in the air, sparkling faintly in the sun. Hovering at the front of the room is a ghost. You weren't sure what to expect from your first ghost teacher, but Professor Binns doesn't disappoint. He's everything the stories said. Translucent, pale, hovering a foot above the floor, and speaking in a tone that could best be described as intentional nap. He's already mid-lecture. The International Confederation of Wizards was officially convened in 1692 after several failed attempts, though informal discussions began as early as the Goblin Riots of 1612, which, as you'll recall, you slide into your seat. He doesn't look up. Your seatmate passes you a scrap of parchment that reads, "Bet you 5 sickles he doesn't blink once." You try not to laugh and settle into your desk. The class continues. Professor Binns drones on in a soft, steady voice, his ghostly fingers occasionally waving through a stack of floating notes that drift lazily in front of him. Words appear on the board in front of him as he speaks. Chalk writing by itself, letter by letter, with the pace of a very sleepy snail. Every now and then, he pauses, but not to ask questions. No, just to adjust his lecture notes, which appear to be enchanted scrolls that occasionally sigh in boredom. You try to focus. You really do. But the room is so warm, and the sunlight is so soft, and the desks are strangely comfortable for something made entirely of wood. Your eyes droop. You rest your chin on your palm. The ghost continues. It was not until 1707 that the Ministry of Magic, as we know it, was formally established. Your mind wanders. You think about the puffing snapper from Herbology, about how the feather lifted for a second in charms. You think about how Hogwarts already smells familiar. Stone, parchment, and cinnamon. You wonder if the library has spell books that whisper to themselves when no one's watching. A quiet snore to your left breaks your train of thought. You glance over. Your seatmate is fast asleep, forehead on their parchment, which is now slowly absorbing a droplet of drool. The ghost doesn't notice. You nudge them gently. They snort and jolt upright. Their parchment flips off the desk and is immediately stolen by a passing breeze. You both watch it float gracefully out to the window. "Well," they say, rubbing their face, "there goes my career." By the time class ends, you've taken 3 full lines of notes, all of which read some variation of confederation, magical accord thing, and goblins very upset. You shuffle out of the room along with the rest of the class. No one talks much. Everyone is blinking, like they've just emerged from a nap under a heavy blanket. Your parchment glows. Next class, free period. Location, wherever the castle lets you go. Your seatmate groans. Please let that mean snacks. You wander toward the central hall together, deciding to explore during your free time. A corridor opens near the tapestry that features trolls dancing in tutus. You follow it, past a window that shows the lake glittering in the distance, and out into a small courtyard where a few older students are sitting on stone benches, trading Bertie Bott's every flavor beans, and homework complaints. You and your seatmate find a quiet corner under a sprawling tree that smells like lemon thyme. You pull out your enchanted notebook, and the cover opens with a yawn. It writes before you do. So, history, not your favorite? You grin and reply, might have learned more from a sleeping snapper. The notebook chuckles. Your seatmate tosses a stone into the nearby fountain. The water ripples in lazy spirals, casting dappled patterns across the underside of the nearby ivy. A butterfly lands on their sleeve, then flutters off. Everything feels easy. The castle doesn't press on you the way real life sometimes does. It just waits, inviting you to wander at your own pace, stumble into the right door, take a seat beside the right person, and quietly unfold. Eventually, your parchment glows again. Next, potions, dungeon, corridor. B, bring courage, possibly garlic. You both exchange wary looks. Garlic, your seatmate says. Maybe it's a joke, you suggest. They snort. From a timetable? Doubt it. You rise, brushing a bit of leaf glitter from your robe, and head back inside. The castle greets you with a faint, cool breeze from a high window, somewhere far off. A bell tolls once, long and low. Potions awaits, and the dungeon corridor has never sounded so dramatic. The corridor is too quiet, not the comforting hush of the library or the peaceful stillness of the courtyard. This silence carries a different kind of weight, the kind that makes your ears feel too sharp, like they're listening for something they'd rather not hear. Your free period is nearly over, but your seatmate insists that you take the shortcut through the eastern wing to get to your next class. You agree, if only because you've never seen this part of the castle before, and curiosity is one of your stronger flaws. The moment you turn the corner, the air shifts. The torches along the wall flicker, though there's no breeze. And then, with a sound like someone sneezing into a kazoo, Peeves appears. He's floating upside down just above a portrait frame, juggling what appears to be sticks of chalk. They're enchanted, glowing softly and leaving a faint trail of rude words in the air as they twirl. He notices you instantly. "Well, well, well," he says, flipping upright with a whoosh of his patched trousers. "What have we here? Shiny new firsties, strolling where they oughtn't." He zips forward with gleeful chaos, nose nearly bumping yours. His grin is too wide, his eyes too bright. Should I trip you, drench you, fill your ears with beetles? You freeze. Your seatmate grabs your sleeve. "Don't run," they whisper. Peeves grins wider. Oh, clever little firsties. You know the rules. Don't scream. Don't snitch. Don't blink when I throw this. He flings a handful of what looks like glittering dust in your direction. It hovers in the air instead of falling, forming shimmering letters that read, Peeves knows everything, especially what you did with that teacup. Neither of you know what it means. He giggles wildly anyway, then somersaults backward into the ceiling and vanishes through a stone beam, like smoke slipping through cracks. You both just stand there. I get it now, your seatmate murmurs. He's like a magical wasp. You nod, but somehow worse. A loud harumph breaks the silence. You look up to see that several portraits lining the corridor have taken a keen interest in your presence. The one closest, a witch in plum robes with a particularly tall, ruffled collar, leans forward with an arched brow. Peeves again, she sighs. I swear that menace has no respect for thresholds. From the adjacent frame, a wizard in stiff silver robes grumbles. He has no respect for grammar, let alone boundaries. The plum-robed witch turns to you. And what house are you two in? You answer hesitantly. She tilts her head. That explains the wandering. Always the curious ones, says a sleepy wizard above her, painted into an overstuffed armchair with a floating book. You lot never take the obvious path. Or follow the rules, adds the silver-robed one, who now seems very interested in your shoes. You have the look of someone who will definitely cause minor explosions. Your seatmate clears their throat. Is that a good thing? The plum-robed witch's mouth twitches. It's traditional. A third portrait leans in from a forestscape frame, her robes all moss green and embroidered with vines. They remind me of that student who tried to train the houseplants to sing. I liked her, says the sleepy one. She had gumption, agrees the forest witch, even if she enchanted the lavenders to bite. You're starting to feel like a topic at a family dinner you weren't invited to. We're right here, you know? Your seatmate mutters. Yes, the plum-robed witch says. But we have opinions, and walls talk. A few frames down, another wizard, not even in his frame, just a note left pinned in the corner, has written in careful script, Welcome. You'll grow into your mistakes. You're not sure whether that's a threat or encouragement, but you kind of like it. The paintings begin to settle. The plum-robed witch returns to her embroidery. The silver-robed wizard pretends to nap. A distant portrait hums a tune no one recognizes. You and your seatmate take that as your cue to leave. As you walk, Your footsteps echo a little too loudly. Your face still tingles with glitter dust, but you feel oddly seen, not watched exactly, just noted, as if even the walls of this place have begun writing your name into the margins. You've never walked downward for so long in your life. The stairs leading to the dungeons feel endless. With each turn, the light dims just a little more, and the temperature drops another invisible degree. You adjust your robe around your shoulders as the stone walls grow slicker and older. The torches here don't burn orange. They glow with a pale, green-tinged flame, casting an eerie shimmer along the corridor. By the time you reach the bottom, your shoes feel damp, your fingers are chilled, and you're fairly certain the shadows here move slightly on their own. This must be potions class. You and your seatmate exchange a glance. They're clutching their textbook a little too tightly. The corridor ahead is lined with old wooden doors, some sealed with iron bands, some slightly ajar, as if daring you to peek inside. One of them sighs when you pass it. You try not to flinch. The potions classroom is the last door on the left. Inside, it's a world away from the rest of Hogwarts. The room is dim, lit only by a dozen floating lanterns and the faint luminescence of things bubbling in jars. The air is warm and thick, with a clinging scent that makes your nose twitch, somewhere between wet stone, old herbs, and burning plum. Jars line every shelf, stuffed with strange ingredients: pickled roots, bat wings, silver leaf petals, thin bones curled into spirals, glowing beetle shells. There's a giant glass container filled with what looks suspiciously like dragon eyelids, and another that contains a single floating eyeball that spins when you walk past. You and your classmates file in quietly, taking your seats at paired cauldrons already set up around the room. You're assigned a spot beside a nervous-looking student with a wild halo of curly hair and a name tag that reads, Nell. They give you a shaky smile. "I'm not great with fire," they whisper. You whisper back, "Let's hope this potion doesn't require an open flame." Then, at the front of the classroom stands Professor Snape, perfectly still and dressed in dark robes that make him look like he stepped out of a thundercloud. He surveys the class with unreadable eyes. His gaze lingers on each of you in turn, not long, but long enough to feel like he's storing your entire life story behind his eyes. He speaks softly, but the words carry like a command. "Potions," he begins. is not loud magic. It is not flashy. It does not respond to waving or shouting. It rewards control, focus, and silence. As if to prove the point, the bubbling in the nearest cauldron grows quieter. You will begin, he continues, with a calming draft, a potion designed to soothe mild anxiety and restless sleep. Very useful for those of you still waking up screaming after Peeves hides under your beds. Someone near the back chokes on a laugh. Snape raises one eyebrow. The laugh dies instantly. He waves his wand toward the blackboard, and ingredients begin to appear in perfect cursive, followed by the steps. Grind dried violet root. Stir clockwise 4 times. Add moonflower dust when mixture turns lilac. Simmer until the scent changes from sour to warm bread. Your seatmate mutters, "Warm bread? That's not scientific." You shrug and tie your cauldron apron. At your station are the supplies: a pestle and mortar, small pre-measured containers, and one wide-mouthed silver cauldron already gently heating from beneath. Nell reaches for the violet root and drops half of it. "Sorry," they whisper, scrambling to gather the pieces. You kneel to help, collecting bits off the flagstone floor while trying not to inhale whatever's wafting from the cauldron behind you. It smells like shoe polish and cough syrup. Eventually, you both get your ingredients in order. "Grind," you remind. Nell nods and begins mashing the violet root with surprising intensity. "I'm good at taking my stress out on things," they mutter. The potion begins pale and thin, like weak tea. You stir, carefully, clockwise, 4 times. It darkens slowly, shifting toward lilac. The change is subtle but satisfying, like watching magic unfold from the bottom up. "Moonflower dust," you say. Nell nods, opens the vial, and promptly sneezes into the cloud of shimmering powder. The cauldron puffs pink in protest. "Sorry again." You both wave the dust away and carefully add a fresh measure. This time, it blends properly. The potion thickens, its scent changing slowly. First sweet, then almost floral, and then something else. You sniff cautiously. Bread? More like toast? Close enough? Behind you, a loud pop erupts from another table, followed by a scream. You turn just in time to see a small cloud of purple mushrooms launching themselves from a cauldron, bouncing across the floor like rubber frogs. One of them sticks to the ceiling. Snape walks over, looks up, and says, "Interesting interpretation." He flicks his wand. The mushroom falls. Detention. He returns to the front. Your own potion continues to bubble, steadily, confidently. Snape approaches your table. He looks into the cauldron, leans slightly forward, sniffs. You hold your breath. He says nothing. Then he glances at your gloves. Don't forget to clean your station afterward. He moves on. Your seatmate exhales in relief. Did we just survive that? I think that's the closest thing to praise he offers. You bottle the finished potion, pale lilac with soft swirls of silver, and place it gently in the rack at the front of the room. The bottle clicks into place next to others in neat rows. Gold, green, blue, one that's smoking slightly. The classroom is quieter now. Even the cauldrons seem to understand that the difficult part is over. Nell wipes their forehead with a sleeve. I didn't set anything on fire. Success. You both clean your station as instructed, neatly returning the pestle, wiping the counter, and tapping your cauldron with the cleaning charm Professor Flitwick taught you earlier that morning. It works, sort of. A small poof of bubbles erupts from the spout. Snape gives you a look. You pretend it didn't happen. When class is dismissed, students file out slowly, like people stepping carefully out of a cave. You and Nell walk side by side, your seatmate falling in behind. You feel tired, but in a good way, like you've done something difficult and lived to tell the tale. The dungeons echo softly as you climb the steps back toward the light. Somewhere above, the castle is still warm, still alive with laughter and chatter and flickering candles. But here, in the dark, you earned something today. You didn't brew it perfectly, but you brewed it. By the time potions ends and the last stair creaks behind you, the sun has softened. It hasn't fully set, but the shadows have grown long, pooling around the castle walls and slipping into corners like cats curling into nap spots. The air has that end-of-day hush to it. Not silence, exactly, but a slower rhythm. Even Hogwarts seems to exhale. You and your seatmate part ways with Nell at the top of the dungeon stairs. She's muttering something about needing to decontaminate emotionally. You promise to save her a seat at dinner, then head toward the tower corridor. You're not due anywhere for a little while. No classes, no prefect tours, no schedule pulsing on your parchment. The corridor around you is bathed in golden light. And for once, the staircases don't shift under your feet. The portraits nod politely as you pass. One of them, a snoozing gentleman in an armchair, lifts a monocle and murmurs, "You've got ink on your nose." You wipe it without thinking. He's right. Of course. Back in the common room. The fire's been restoked. A few upper years lounge on the rug, murmuring over textbooks and trading Bertie Bott's beans like rare gemstones. One chair is taken up entirely by a napping cat that may or may not belong to the house. You head to the desk tucked beneath the window. It's the perfect kind of old, scratched with initials, slightly uneven on one leg, and always warm from afternoon sun. The quill holder reaches out to you as you sit, offering your feather pen like a waiter presenting a dessert. You retrieve your parchment and begin your first letter home. It's strange, writing about a day that feels both impossibly long and too short. How do you explain Peeves, or the portraits gossiping about your house like they're judging a baking competition? You write anyway. Dear, you pause, unsure how to start. Today, I brewed something that didn't explode. I made a feather float for exactly 4 seconds. A plant sneezed on me. A ghost ignored me. A poltergeist definitely didn't. I've never been more tired. I've never been happier. You pause. The ink glistens faintly in the light, then dries instantly, like it already knew you meant it. You roll the parchment neatly and tie it with the thin red ribbon from your welcome pack. It curls at the end, proud of itself. The clock on the mantel gives a low bong, and the cat raises its head, offended. Your seatmate appears in the doorway. Want to walk? They ask. You nod. Let me just send this. The owlery's up in the west tower. It smells like straw and feathers and a bit of moonlight, and the owls roost in high, spiraled niches carved into stone. Some sleep with one eye open. Others watch you carefully, measuring your vibe. One hops forward and offers its leg. You tie the letter gently. The owl takes off with a single swoop. Wings cutting cleanly through the air like parchment on a breeze. Your seatmate claps once. Congratulations, your very first Hogwarts post. You grin. Then, with no particular direction in mind, you both head outside. The courtyard feels different now. Sunlight has shifted to silver. The walls glow soft rose, and everything is quieter, like the castle itself is waiting for night to tip fully over the horizon. You wander past stone arches tangled in ivy, the green now a shadowed black against crumbling brick. Lamps flicker to life in intervals, soft golden glows that spill across mossy cobbles. A fountain in the center sings to itself in watery murmurs. Does it ever feel too perfect? Your seatmate asks. You think about that. It feels like it's watching to see if you belong. You reply. They nod. I think it decided we do. You pass a cluster of third years debating the best spells for sneaking food. One is holding a half-eaten eclair and claiming that refrigeration charms are advanced magic. Obviously, past them, a professor in midnight blue robes glides across the flagstones, not noticing the small flock of enchanted origami birds trailing behind her like polite bodyguards. You circle the courtyard once, then again, slower. There's no rush. Each step feels like a small reward, a chance to breathe without needing to understand everything yet. There's a bench tucked beneath a willow tree at the far corner. You sit there, and the tree rustles slightly above you, not because of wind, but because it's stretching. You can tell. The sound is thoughtful. Your seatmate leans back, eyes closed. Did your potion smell like toast? Eventually. Mine smelled like burnt paper and hope. You laugh. The stars are coming out now, just one or two at first. Pinpricks in the indigo sky, but more will follow, slow and steady, like they're being poured from a hidden bottle. You rest your chin in your hand and watch them. The windows of the castle glow softly behind you. You hear the faint sound of someone practicing scales on a flute through an open window. It's peaceful and full, and for the first time in a very long time, your mind doesn't race to the next thing. It just stays here, in this moment, with the ink drying on your letter, with your bag finally still, with your seatmate beside you, quietly muttering star names to themselves. Eventually, you rise. It's time to head in. You pass the statue of a kneeling knight, its helmet now charmed to bow when you walk past. You spot two older students enchanting a stack of textbooks to dance in rhythm with a harmonica. A group of owls return overhead in formation, silhouetted against the rising moon. Everything hums with quiet. The castle doesn't speak. It just breathes, gently, around you. And when you reach the common room again, when the portrait lets you in with a sleepy yawn, when the fire winks at you in welcome, you realize the letter you sent wasn't just for them. It was for you, too. Proof that you're really here, and that somewhere between floating feathers and exploding mushrooms, you've already begun to belong. By the time you make your way back inside, the sky outside has shifted to a full indigo, and a few stars have taken up permanent residence above the tallest towers. The castle windows burn with amber light, as if each room holds a story wrapping itself in warmth. You follow the gentle stream of students toward the great hall, your footsteps muffled on the wide carpets. the smell of something rich and savory curling through the corridors like an invitation. Dinner is ready. When the grand oak doors open, you step inside and are immediately wrapped in the soft clamor of evening at Hogwarts. The enchanted ceiling mirrors the night sky now. Deep navy, flecked with stars that twinkle just a little more brightly than they do outside. Long golden candle flames float low over the 4 house tables, their flickers moving like fireflies in concert. You find your place at the table, your seatmate slipping in beside you with a sigh of anticipation. Your stomach answers for you with a sound that earns a quiet laugh. The food appears in gentle stages. Roast chicken with crisp skin and herbed potatoes that glisten. Warm bread rolls that steam when broken. Ladles of thick, buttery pumpkin soup, and goblets of cool water and apple cider that fizzes faintly at the surface. You serve yourself carefully, half expecting the gravy boat to bite back. It doesn't. It just pours exactly the right amount and gives a soft clink of approval. Conversation swells around you, low, comfortable, familiar. Not everyone knows each other, but there's something about the clink of cutlery and the soft glow of a shared meal that invites ease. Someone across from you is telling a story about a staircase that dumped their entire group into a broom cupboard instead of the astronomy corridor. Another student boasts about finding a secret passage to the kitchens before being chased out by an angry teapot. You glance at your seatmate, whose plate is now a work of art. You eat like you're afraid the food might vanish. They shrug. It's Hogwarts. Anything's possible. As you settle into the rhythm of the meal, you let yourself simply be. The food is good, the laughter soft, the air warm. You've learned so much today, and still, the castle feels like it's barely begun to show you what it can do. Eventually, dessert floats in, literal floating cakes, hovering just a few inches above the platters, rotating slowly. You reach for a slice of treacle tart that wobbles gently into your palm. A bell chimes somewhere high above, not a sharp tone, but a soft signal. Time to begin winding down. The prefects stand. Some start guiding the younger students out in groups. You rise with your seatmate and follow the steady trickle toward the staircases. As you walk, full and a little sleepy, one of the older students ahead of you ducks behind a tapestry and vanishes. Your seatmate grabs your sleeve. Did you see that? You both rush forward. The tapestry is ruined and faded, depicting a wizard serenading a wyvern with a harp. You push it aside cautiously, and find a narrow corridor hidden in the wall. It smells like dirt and old ink, but it's warm, and you can see torchlight dancing around a bend up ahead. You follow. The corridor is only just wide enough for 2 people side by side. As you walk, your fingers brush the stone. Someone carved initials into the walls, old ones, deep, with names and strange phrases and tiny symbols you don't recognize. There's a turn, and then another. You pass under a low archway and around a stack of ancient crates stamped with runes. One crate hums when you get close. You steer clear of that one. Your seatmate stops. Listen. You pause. There's a sound, a murmur, like whispering, but not in a threatening way. It's like a chorus of quiet thoughts drifting out of the stones themselves. You lean in. One voice says, "Left at the sconce." Another says, "Don't forget your scarf." Another, "You'll find it in the frame." You whisper, "What is this?" Your seatmate shrugs, wide-eyed. Secret passages must remember everyone who walks through. You continue. After a few more turns, the corridor ends at a wooden door, one you recognize. You push it open, and you're back in your common room. It's quieter than before, but not empty. The fire burns low and golden in the hearth, casting dancing light over the worn carpet and the soft armchairs that still creak like they're waking up from naps. A few older students sit in small clusters, reading or writing. One is curled up on the rug with a book balanced on their knees. In one corner, 2 enchanted chess sets hover mid-game, pieces flickering faintly and muttering threats under their breath. You cross the room and fall into the same chair you claimed this morning. It welcomes you like an old friend. Your seatmate drops into the one beside you, kicking off their shoes. You both sit for a while, letting your eyes adjust to the firelight. You feel full in every possible sense: stomach, mind, heart. There's a hum in your bones that you don't know how to name, but it feels like something ancient and gentle and right. You pull out your notebook, the one you wrote in earlier by the window. It opens eagerly, already scribbling. "Still here? I thought you might have fallen into a tapestry." You smile and reply, "Almost. Found a shortcut instead." The notebook draws a tiny star in the corner of the page. Your seatmate is quietly humming something. You don't recognize the tune, but it fits the space perfectly. Around the room, your fellow students settle into the hush. One yawns, another kicks off a blanket that promptly wraps around their legs again. The clock above the mantel ticks softly. The chess pieces clink as a pawn makes a dramatic gesture. Someone adds a log to the fire, and sparks drift up like lazy fireflies. You stretch, not in a grand, dramatic way, just enough to feel the bones in your back shift and sigh. Your eyelids are heavy, and your head leans back against the armchair cushion, which feels like it was made for you and no one else. Your seatmate speaks, almost too softly to hear. Think every day will feel like this. You open one eye. Like what? Like stories? Like something you want to remember. You pause. Let the firelight flicker across your fingers. Maybe not every day, you say, but enough. They smile and pull their blanket tighter. Enough is perfect. You nod. Let your eyes close. And let the hush of the common room wrap around you like the last spell of the night. Soft, wordless, and meant only for you. The castle settles slowly, like a creature curling into its den. Hogwarts doesn't simply go to sleep. It unwinds. It exhales. The torches lining the stairwells dim of their own accord, flickering gently before extinguishing in pairs. Hallway portraits yawn in unison and tuck themselves into the corners of their frames. Even the enchanted suits of armor take up quieter positions, their hollow footfalls reduced to soft, rhythmic shifts as they lean into shadowed alcoves and dream their metallic dreams. You and your seatmate climb the final stairs to the dormitory, your robes brushing against the curved stone walls. You pass by a window that overlooks the lake, now still and silver, and pause for a moment, watching the reflection of stars shimmer on the surface like scattered sugar. Neither of you says much now. Words feel heavier at the end of the day, not in a burdensome way, more like they've been used up properly. Like every one that needed to be spoken has been, and the rest can wait until morning. When you reach the dormitory door, it swings open without a creak. Inside, the room is lit only by the soft glow of floating orbs above each bed, like candlelight that refuses to burn too bright. Your four-poster is just as you left it that morning. Only now the curtains have drawn themselves halfway closed, as if to say, "You've had enough of the world. Come hide in me for a little while." You hang your robes on the waiting hook, and they twitch once to straighten themselves. Your slippers scurry into place beside your trunk. Your wand tucks itself gently into its box with a contented little click. One by one, your dorm mates begin to enter as well. Some shuffle in yawning. Others whisper good nights to each other. One drops their book onto their bed and lets it close itself with a satisfied thud. You wash your face in the little alcove basin, where the mirror doesn't offer compliments, only gentle encouragement. Tomorrow's a new day, it murmurs, and you've already learned to float feathers. You smile. The mirror winks. Climbing into bed, you're immediately surrounded by warmth. The quilt smells faintly of cinnamon and parchment. The mattress gives way just enough to hug your shoulders. The curtains respond to your weight by pulling closed just a bit more, cocooning you in dim softness. But you're not quite ready to sleep yet. You draw the curtain back just slightly and peer out the narrow dormitory window. From here, you can see the outline of the forbidden forest, its treetops black and still against the silver sky. No wind stirs the branches tonight. Beyond it, the mountains rise in gentle silhouettes, and above them, above everything, are the stars. Hundreds of them, thousands. You find yourself looking for patterns. You imagine what the centaurs must see in them, what the astronomy tower must feel like at midnight. You try to give the constellations names: the wand, the cauldron, the sneezing, puffing snapper. You hear your seatmate's voice from the next bed over. "Still awake?" "Yeah," you whisper. "Can't sleep?" "Not yet." A pause, then, "Same." You hear them sit up slightly, shifting beneath their blanket. I read somewhere that Hogwarts has its own bedtime spells, like spells that help the castle rest. You raise an eyebrow, even though they can't see it. What, like lullabies? Not exactly. More like enchantments to make the rooms warmer, to keep the staircases from wandering too far, to tell the owls to stop hooting directly over our windows. You snort quietly. I think those are just well-trained owls. Or very polite magic. You lie back against your pillow and look up. There are faint twinkling specks along the ceiling, reflections of the stars outside, as if the dormitory wants to keep a few close by. Your mind drifts. You remember the taste of pumpkin juice, the way the Herbology snapper purred when you spoke to it, the shimmer of your first floating feather, the surprise of the common room fire, knowing just when to crackle louder. You think of how, even though it's only been one day, the castle has already tucked parts of itself into your memory. Not just the big, magical moments, but the tiny ones, too. The hallway that smelled like old honey. The portrait who said you had honest eyebrows. The staircase that waited. There's something about Hogwarts that feels like it doesn't just contain magic. It listens for it. And tonight, as you lie there, safe in your bed. You feel the castle listening to you. The blankets shift slightly. You murmur a spell you heard a fourth-year use earlier. Somno dulcis. It's not even in your textbook yet, but the word hums through your chest, and the pillow under your head softens. Your curtain closes the rest of the way, just a whisper of light peeking beneath the edge. You close your eyes. Your body is still, but your mind floats, drifting over towers and turrets, into classrooms and greenhouses, through portraits and parchments and potion-scented halls. It's not dreaming yet, just remembering. The stars press against the sky outside. One of them blinks. And in the quiet of the dormitory, the only sounds are the gentle breathing of your friends, the slow crackle of the hearth far below, and the soft sigh of the castle sleeping around you. Tomorrow, there will be more feathers to float, more portraits to please, more staircases to chase. But for now, just this. You! Your bed, the stars, and the certainty that Hogwarts is holding you, just as much as you're beginning to belong to it. The night stretches on, velvet and wide. Somewhere, far above the sleeping castle, the stars shift slowly in their constellations. Never in a hurry, the moon spills silver light over the towers, onto the windows, through the drapes, and across the floors in soft ribbons. But in your dormitory, it all feels quiet, held, drowsy. You shift beneath your blanket and sigh into the pillow. Every part of you feels heavier now, but not in a burdensome way. It's the weight of a day well lived, of laughter earned, of new things learned, and old things left behind. The castle doesn't speak, but you can feel it, humming faintly in the stones, in the beams, in the blankets themselves, as though it's singing a lullaby in a language you don't know, but one your heart remembers. Beneath your bed, your slippers are still. Your wand sleeps in its box, quiet as a breath. Your satchel rests against the wall, its contents humming softly in dreams of ink and parchment and starlight. And you are floating, not through space, not through time, just drifting gently through the space between waking and sleep, between one page and the next. Tomorrow will come, but right now, there is nothing to solve, nothing to fix, no feather to float, no potion to stir, only the soft hush of your breath, the warmth of your bed, and the certainty that you are safe. The castle sighs once more, deep and low and ancient. a spell woven of stone and silence and sleep. And you let go, gently, finally, as the stars blink slower above you and the night folds you into its arms. Sweet dreams